Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back, your movie guru, with another review. This time we're going to be doing Men in Black International. Uh, this is a soft reboot of the franchise that has had Men in Blacks 1 through 3. And then for those of you old like me, there was even a animated series back in the day that if you grew up with, as I did, I enjoyed, and it's part of the reasons why I'm a pretty good or a pretty big fan of the franchise. I'll start off right away saying that this one had a very low score on Rotten Tomatoes, 26%. I knew that going in, and then after seeing the movie, I really didn't think the audience would agree with that. And then looking at the audience score of 76%, that's about what I expected. So you can see it's very divided between critics and fans, and I think that I'm able to tell you why. Uh, so this film, like I said once again, is a soft reboot, meaning that they didn't entirely overhaul the series. The films with Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, they still exist in this universe, but they're restarting a franchise with all new characters. To that effect, uh, they didn't, really give a backstory about, how the Men in Black came to be or any of that. They're going to assume that you've seen the other films or at least some of the other films in the franchise. The reason I believe that this got such a uh, low Rotten Tomato score is when you think in terms of the franchise. So movies 1 and 2 were great. I thought they were really well done. Uh, Definitely kept it fresh. But afterwards, you started to see signs of it getting old because there weren't many ways that they could take the franchise. And then Men in Black 3, at that time, you kind of felt that, where could they be going with this? And that film actually exceeded expectations. It was better than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. I believe it had a 68% score on Rotten Tomatoes because it felt like they were trying to close out that story arc, and I think they did a pretty good job with that. And when you look at this film in terms of the franchise, then I can kind of understand why it got the story it got. Uh, it's the best way I can explain it is it seems like these type of films could be done, in a TV show type format. It's not, it's like after seeing all the films, you're like, okay, this is not something that, I could have or that I should have had to go into the theater to see. Uh, when you're looking at, a TV show and then you're looking at a movie, you're expecting elements in a movie that you're not going to see in a TV show. Like, for instance, a big sci-fi type atmosphere, or big special effects, something that you wouldn't, they wouldn't be able to afford for a normal TV show, or you're looking for an extended plot, or something of that nature that you couldn't see in a 30-minute or an hour TV show. And this film doesn't really introduce anything new in terms of that. Uh, that said, if you're just going to see a good movie, or a decent movie, something, an action film to see this weekend, you'll enjoy it. Because when I went to see it, I kept expecting this bad movie that all the ratings had told me it was going to be. And it really never materialized. Chris Hemsworth and I thought Tessa Thompson did a great job. They definitely have on-screen chemistry, and you will appreciate that. Seeing them go back and forth and how they interact with each other. I thought that was well done. And, some of the action sequences were cool. I liked, them interacting with the aliens and, just, kind of fleshing out the world a little bit more. That I thought that was cool. And they had humor at the right times. They keep the film from getting too serious. And the plot, was a little lacking. Definitely nothing serious with the plot. But, all in all, I thought it was a decent film. If you're just going in not knowing much about it, or, you're not a super fan of the series, as far as movies go, it wasn't a terrible film. I don't think when you compare it in terms of the franchise, I don't believe Chris Hemsworth, or Tessa Thompson, at least not yet, has the kind of cachet that Will Smith has, or the on-screen presence and the personality to really, carry a film. That I think, with one and two, especially number one, where Will Smith kind of has that larger-than-life personality, uh, where he can carry the film based on his antics, his acting alone. And at least at this level, I don't think it's something that Tessa Thompson or Chris Hemsworth has right now. But like I say, they did a good job, a manageable job. It's not something you're going to go out of the film angry about. So in that respect, I enjoyed it. The only time, like I said, once again, I think the reason why it got this 26% score is looking at in terms of the franchise. Looking at it in terms of the franchise, you look at movies 1, 2, and 3, and you're saying, where else can this these films go? They're kind of the stories aren't exactly the same, but they are pretty similar. The Earth faces a threat from some advanced alien race, and then they've got to find a way to stop it. You know, Once again, not necessarily that makes for a terrible uh, plot, but not necessarily something that you'd have to go to see the movies for. If you're thinking about like in terms of Star Trek, if you've seen any episodes of Star Trek, uh, some of them kind of got a little monotonous, but that's okay because it's something that you saw once a week, for an hour. It's something you're watching on your couch at home, and just something interesting, basic to watch, not something that if you saw some of those same reused plot lines and you went to the big screen and you actually drove and went out of your way and took a chunk of time and you paid this money to go and see it, you might say, okay, that wasn't really worth it. So in terms of that, it does make me wonder, was it worth it in terms of that? So, like I said, if you're a big fan of the series, you've seen the animated series, you've seen the other films, you might kind of say, okay, they need to do something new, or, it's not something I'm really going to be interested in. That said, I did like what Chris and Tessa did enough to, if there was another movie, I would be semi-excited to go see it. But I would definitely like to see them do something different. This franchise needs new ideas, needs new content to try and move it forward. They need to, maybe whether that's a change of location, if possibly if they move off world, or uh, change of, like I said, change of scenery, and especially I'd say a great villain. That's one of the things I'd say that this film and a couple of other films in the franchise have been lacking. As I always say in many movies, to have a great movie, you have to have a great antagonist. Without a great antagonist, it is very hard to overcome and make a memorable film. And this film really does, I'd say one of the harder knocks is it does have kind of just your generic villains, not something that you'd specifically remember going forward. Yeah, they have some cool powers and they do some cool things, but ultimately it's not one of those iconic movie villains that you're going to remember. So my rating, I give it a 7 out of 10, just as the film stands by itself. If I was looking at the movie from a franchise perspective, in relation to the other franchises, I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Doesn't quite live up to the other films, and it kind of leaves you wondering, okay, where are they going to go from here? They definitely need to change course, do something different. Otherwise, I've already kind of lost interest, and I'm definitely going to continue to lose interest. So that's where it is. If you disagree with me, let me know. If you thought it was great, like I said, I welcome debate. Leave me a comment. If you like what you see, you like watching my videos, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Once again, thanks you guys for watching. Hope you're having a great weekend. Stay safe, and hope you guys' summer are going well. Mine's going pretty good so far. And just once again, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, guys.